All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayub Nur, and I'm honored to welcome everyone to today's Civic Life Lunch, Ending Hunger in Our Communities with Project Bread. Just a few words about me. I'm a senior in computer science and a second year Tisch Scholar. And Project Bread really touches a deep heart with me as someone who grew up food insecure and got to end up growing up and coming here and really getting to have a new perspective on it all. And on top of that, it is also Ramadan. I'm currently fasting, and part of the month is staying away from food for many spiritual reasons, but to also really understand the position of people who don't have food. And with that, I want to say that Tufts, as a whole, we deeply value civic engagement and the pursuit of community-driven solutions. Food insecurity remains a pressing issue at large, affecting individuals, families, and communities across Massachusetts. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from two remarkable leaders dedicated to combating hunger, Catalina Lopez-Ospina and Adriana Mendes-Sheldon of Project Bread. So Project Bread leads the charge in ensuring everyone, regardless of their circumstances, has access to nutritious food. Their work transcends immediate relief by advocating for systemic change to create a more food-secure future for all. Catalina Lopez-Ospina serves as the inaugural Vice President of Engagement at Project Bread, appointed in 2022. Catalina brings over a decade of experience addressing barriers to food access, especially among communities disproportionately affected by food insecurity. Her personal journey from Colombia to the United States has fueled her commitment to developing pathways that empower individuals, ensuring solutions are culturally sensitive and community informed. Adriana Mendes-Sheldon holds the position of Director of Community Partnership at Project Bread. In her role, Adriana focuses on uplifting communities by addressing the systemic roots of food insecurity. She leads initiatives like the Community Partnership Grant Program, supporting local organizations across the Commonwealth in their hands-on efforts to alleviate hunger. Adriana's work emphasizes the importance of community collaboration in creating sustainable solutions. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Catalina Lopez-Ospina and Adriana Mendes-Sheldon. I'll hand it over now. Yeah, I can start on. Okay, start.
Oh, we don't have a slide.
No worries. All right. So we'll get right
We don't
started.
have a presentation. The shortest deck you have ever done.
My fault there. So we'll get started on asking questions. So we're gonna start on a general question about Project Bread. So first and foremost, can you share a bit about Project Bread's mission and how your roles contribute to it?
You want to get that one? So thank you for being here. Thank you so much for leading this conversation. As I said, Catalina Lopez-Ospina, and been working in Project Bread for 2 years, but I've been involved with Project Bread for many years. So Project Bread is a leading organization, anti-hunger in Massachusetts. We started the first walk in the country in 1969. So many people know us for Walk for Hunger, but we really are more than the Walk for Hunger. We lead our work, anti-hunger work, in 3 main buckets. One is partnerships, other one is policies, another one is programs. So in that bucket of partnerships is where we fit there and our roles are fitting there. So when the engagement department got created, the role or the vision that Erin has, Erin is the CEO of the Project Bread, for us is just really bring the solutions and bring people and bring the community grass organizations to inform our work, to push us to be better, to inform what we are doing, to center our work around the real needs and real solutions that are effective for the community. So we all know those 3 buckets. We have departments that are working very passionate about create relationships, and we were all across the board, making sure that we are always connecting for the programs, for policies, and people for programs too.
Thank you for the insight there. And I want to ask, so what role does advocacy play in your efforts to end hunger? And how can community members get involved?
Okay.
So we have our rehearsed questions.
So advocacy is the pillar of what we do. Like Project Bread, I'm sorry, I just saw Bread. She's working Project Bread too. Advocacy is the pillar of our work. Like we are no emergency organization. We really look for systemic solutions, and systemic solutions need to be built with advocacy. That's the only way that we can make that. Like policies and decision making that are who can shape our solutions. So if we don't have the people who choose the legislators, if we don't have the organizations that are creating an economy in the state of serving the people that we need, that we serve, it will be impossible. So it's the pillar of what we do, but the way that we do policy and advocacy, once again, it's very important to repeat that, is informed by our programs, the needs of our programs. And we know those needs and those gaps because we have people who receive those services telling us what are the needs and gaps. So once again, you can see like how everything like go one hand to the other one, but advocacy is the main thing that we should all be part of.
And I think one thing that I would add is that I'm from Brazil, and advocacy in Brazil looks very different than it looks here, and most of the time it doesn't even work. So I think what we also do at Project Red is very important to inform and equip people on how to do advocacy, because it sounds easy, right? Oh, call your legislator. Who is my legislator? Where do I find it? And when I call, what do I say? So I think it's really important to also equip the community around us to be able to do that advocacy with us.
Good point.
Thank you for the very insightful answers there. And to ask more specifically, I'm wondering if you could talk, you're asking a lot about the policies and the programs combined with the advocacy there. Could you give us a more specific example of some of the advocacy work that you've done?
So we have universal school meals. University in Massachusetts have universal school meals because that was a very holistic way that moved that project to the legislation with advocacy. So we have schools be part of that coalition. We have healthcare providers be part of that coalition. We have parents, students, everyone that the schools touch were part of the coalition, and we made it happen very quickly. So I will say that is, and once again, is the vision of Project Bread that mere systemic change. So it's now on the system, on the school system. That's how we start changing and ending food insecurity.
Thank you. That's really powerful. And you're starting to touch on some of the partnerships you've been getting into. So can I ask, what are some of the most impactful partnerships that Project Red has formed to tackle food insecurity?
Thank you. One thing that we really believe in Project Red is food insecurity needs to be tackled cross sector. So for a partnership to be impactful, we really need to look at neighbors outside our own sector. One of the most impactful partnerships that we can talk about is healthcare. We have been really innovating in that area by integrating patient care with food security, as food security is one of the determinants of health. And the other one that we are very active partners with school districts in the Department of Secondary Elementary Education by really, as Catalina mentioned, bringing universal school meals, access to the whole Commonwealth. And also breakfast after the bell is one of the things that the Department of Second DESI, we call it shorter, really partners with us to do for our students. And also when school is out, Summer Eats program for kids to have access to nutritious meals and activities during the summer when school is out. And all of that being said, we also value and prioritize a lot our grassroots organizations and community organizations. And as you mentioned, Catalina, also briefly, we do, and you also mentioned, we do have a community investment program in which we grant monetary funding to some communities, organizations across the state. Last year, we awarded 9 different grants across different communities in Massachusetts. But what we really try to do is to move beyond monetary funding into scalable, sustainable, systemic solutions. And one example that we can do, I can give about those very grassroots organizations would be New City Grows is one of our partners in Lowell. They had a community needs assessment that highlighted a need to form a council that they decided they didn't want to call it council, they call it community food partnership. And they have been our partners and receive our monetary support, but also leadership development, advocacy training, federal nutrition program awareness, also training and resources that we have. So this is one of the examples, like it's something that was identified in the community and we are providing support that goes beyond monetary funding that one day ends. It's just to help them move the needle in the right direction. Another partnership that we can, I'm gonna say all partnerships are great. We don't have any favorite child, so they're all impactful. But one that's really dear to my heart is with Chelsea, La Colaborativa. They also, and I think impact partnership is when there's a community need that's been identified, and then there's a solution that's been created and led by the community, and then it's rolled out by the community, and then it's evaluated, and then we do it again. And Chelsea really did that. They had a community needs assessment that identified that youth were not eating nutritious meals for several reasons. One of them is because their parents are working 2-3 jobs and don't have time to cook at home. And in addition to that, there was a lot of cultural erosion. There was no like transferring of what we used to eat at home back in Brazil, for example. So they created a program that involved the youth in Chelsea, not only in community cooking classes, but also art, education about federal nutrition programs, and they also volunteer the food distribution pantry that La Colaborativa has. And the program was so successful that now it's incorporated in the annual budget for La Colaborativa. And I think this is really tell us what something worked, because now, there's no more grant, but you're gonna continue to do it because you saw it was needed, you did it, it worked, and you're gonna continue to do it even when our grant expires. So these are, and I can be here for like 3 more days talking about partnership, but I'll let you move on.
Thank you. But that's a very diverse and complicated set of solutions that you're tackling there. This reminds me of a time when I was in elementary school, when I had one of my first school lunches, and I think it was just soup, but it was served really differently than how it was made at home. So I was like, I'm not eating this. I don't know what you're giving me. So it's very touching that you guys are working to make sure that it's culturally relevant for kids too.
And we do have a department of chefs, and they work directly with the nutrition department in schools to make meals that are according to the USDA guidelines, but also cultural relevant, nutritious, and fun for kids to eat. Because, kids who are hungry, they can't learn. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars you spend in Chromebooks, innovation, technology. If I'm hungry, I'm not connecting to learn.
It sounds like you're really working on the fundamental building blocks of making sure kids have a place to thrive and be themselves. And with that, you've mentioned many of the compounding factors of getting there, but I wanted to ask, how do you navigate challenges in fostering these close partnerships, especially when working with organizations with, say, like differing priorities?
That's when relationship building and trust start happening. So we put a lot of effort to make sure that our relationships that are honest, that are based on trust, and that we can put in front, like, we support what you do. I think it's a very good strategy, but our lane is that, but we still continue the relationship. It's not a reason to like break apart, because there are so many ways that food insecurity needs to be addressed that we cannot do all. So we know our line, we respect and support the other people line, but this conversation, tough conversation, coming from a place of understanding, trust, and building that support.
Yeah, and I think we need to find common ground, because even when there are like different sizes in the situation, as we were like a couple of weeks ago in a community, and there were literally in this meeting 2 sides of the conversation. But at the end of the meeting, everybody was able to see, okay, what we really want, all of us here, regardless of our different views and priorities and challenges, is the kids to be fed so they can learn. So I think we need, for that to be done, you need to really move at the speed of trust, something that Catalina and I will really, and that can be slower, I'm very performance driven. I come from management consulting. So it's like you have to learn how to move at speed of trust, develop a relationship, go have coffee with people. Don't ask for something after you have a relationship with somebody, because research shows that people are willing to listen to you, do something with you, or even think about collaborating with you when they like you. So develop relationships is the most important thing. If you forget everything else we say, remember Catalina said, and I said, develop relationships are based on trust. And define your role. You don't need to be the lead on everything. You can just be the connector, you can be the bridge. Just like make sure it's aligned with your mission and define how you're gonna be part of it.
Very powerful, very nuanced perspectives on everything. But this kind of reminds me of whenever I may be working on a group project with some friends, and someone who's really focusing on just fixing their section versus the overall goal what we're trying to do. And it sounds like you guys are always trying to center and focus on the goal of making sure everyone has food to eat.
Yeah.
And keeping partnerships and communities through that.
And we add to that, Adriana is talking with our external partners, but the same dynamic happened internally. So we have, as I say, that we have different departments, communication, policy, child nutrition programs, but we all learn from each other. We know that the chefs are in the kitchen, but how we can bring partners to the kitchen, how the chef can bring the kitchen to the community. There is a lot of misconception about school meals. They have a lot of room to improve, but there are a lot of districts that are doing a lot of work. Just like how we can bring that to the community to see like we are moving forward, and we can continue moving forward. So that dynamic needs to be happening in both areas, so we can all find our common ground.
I wanted to ask some questions looking a bit more forward into the future here. So as you've been building these partnerships and laying all of this groundwork, what policies or systemic changes do you think are necessary to end food insecurity in Massachusetts? It's a big one, but.
You're going to bring a sleeping bag?
Well, food insecurity is rooted in systemic racism. So that is the big policy that we have to dismantle. Like all systems are being made to keep poor communities and disenfranchised communities like in that situation. So if we're gonna go big with that question, I will start with that. But there are many other state level and federal level policies that need to be advocated and changes, like SNAP, Supplementary Assistance Program, is one of the most effective ways to support people to get out of food insecurity and poverty. You know, it's like if you have money and you can just buy your food and don't have to stress out. So that is our main issue here, is like how we can keep and improve SNAP. At this point is how we can make it survive. And in a state level, there are many other ways that we can just policies that can be happening. It's like, I know our team is working really hard with Mass Health to make sure that is integrated into the food insecurity, integrated into the healthcare system. So it's a policy change there. And we already talked about school meals that is integrated there. So what other big Sarah, we have here our chief program officer, and she's the brain behind many of these things that I'm talking. So Sarah, if you're missing something that is key.
I think right now it is about, there are a lot of immigration policy issues too. I think it is all around continuing to push around access and pushing around benefit levels. And so it is access to different, like you said, in the healthcare space, in the education space, but it's always, for us, it's always around driving systemic change to open up and to reduce barriers.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. As I said, we are a team. They're just
One of the things we're really supporting, hoping that will happen really soon, is the common application for Mass Health and SNAP, because it's one of the big barriers for people to apply, is that you have to deal with different paperwork and different agencies. And it has been approved, but still in the books somehow, but that's something that we are helping to push. Another thing we can also add is HIP, health incentives programs that gives more access to fresh produce for people. It's a convoluted way to work, but we can see the data shows that more people have been using it. So people are learning about it. We need to continue to increase awareness and continue to fund it so we can continue to fix this.
Oh, yeah, like HIP is like a huge policy change they need to have. It's not in the budget. So every year it's like it's a fight about how many resources for HIP. So, yeah. Sign up all those petitions.
But when universal school meals passed like 2023, we were one of the only 7 states to have that. You would think in the nation as big as wealthy, like it's like what? I was like, it makes no sense. Coming from Brazil, I think as the United States as the big brother, like we look up to it, like we should know what we're doing. And I was like, this can't be. So, but to see that we have that huge win, food insecurity is a problem, but it's a solvable problem when we work together. There are ways for us to be one of the first states in the nation that are going to be food insecurity free. And we just have to all work together and not lose hope or heart.
Something I'm trying to keep in mind.
I
every
know,
day.
I'm telling that so I can remind myself of it.
I wanted to ask quickly, for my sake, for everyone's sake, SNAP, HIP, other programs, could you quickly say what they are?
So do you wanna do it? What do you mean?
Yeah, I actually funny story. I have 3 children and my twins are seniors in high school. I asked them, they're very involved and civic involved. And SNAP is like food stamps. You have extra benefits a month in a card that you can use to buy your groceries. It gives you freedom of choice. It gives you dignity. You can buy things that actually you will eat. First time I saw a hamburger helper, I put it in the fridge because I thought that was a hamburger inside of the box of the hamburger helper. So it gives you choice and freedom. But also if we change the way it is, I asked my sons, like, how much you think people get on SNAP a day, to buy groceries? And they're like, oh, $30, $50. And I'm like, no. And there's some talks about like making it $4 a day. Like you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you buy 1 coffee and you're done for the day. So you don't eat anything else. You might as well just do intermittent fasting. So like there's so much misconception about what these benefits are. And thank you for asking such important questions. So SNAP is one of them that we need to continue to push and increase the benefits and also increase eligibility. What would be the other one you mentioned?
The health the health incentive program is tied to SNAP. All SNAP recipients are eligible to have additional benefit. Now it changed a little bit because we don't have budget, so we need to advocate for the budget. But everyone has additional dollars that they can use to buy fruit and vegetables at the farmers market or farmers market. And that money go back to their account. So they never feel like they are taking money out of their account. They just like to go and use it. And as Adriana says, it's the most dignified way to get support because we have this stigma there. So HIP is really a other national statewide program that increase the agency and the possibility to people to get access to vegetables and fruits that are local. There's also helping the economy.
Yeah, helping the economy, local farmers.
So if I have it with me, I would love to pull out my SNAP card because I actually grew up on SNAP in Maine, and then coming into Massachusetts, even though I'm a college student, I'm gonna cover most of this, but I do have mine with me. Even though a lot of us college students are attending a very wonderful, very prestigious university, I know myself and many of my friends are also on SNAP. And so it's never a clear-cut line between insecurity and security. And having these programs like the health incentive program, like you're mentioning, it benefited me because I would want to buy groceries because you can't buy hot meals. You can only buy groceries and things of that sort on Snap. And I, on my budget, I was like, should I buy a gallon of milk and some eggs today, or go to the farmer's market and get fruit for the month? And so these little steps make very big differences in the end.
And thank you, Ayub, for bringing that point. I think we have a coalition in the state of all hunger-free campus that I would encourage you guys to look into it, because it's a pervasive problem that we're not aware. We think, oh yeah, we all here, it's fine, but it's not. And also there's a misconception, I think is one of the questions about food insecurity, that you need to be starting on the streets, running around without clothes with a big belly. No, like food insecurity has so many facets. It's not your stomach hurting. It's like your head hurting by thinking where my next meal is gonna come from. Do I buy eggs or milk, or do I buy fresh vegetables? Like this mental exercises, we shouldn't have to go through that. It should be a basic right for us to have access to food that nourishes our body and also.
Exactly. And it's hard to think about studying or working or getting anything done when the next concern is your next meal. Speaking on these misconceptions, I wanted to ask, I feel like food insecurity, like you were saying, is a misconception about who is food insecure. There are a lot of misconceptions about programs to support people who are food insecure. So could you tell us about some of the bigger misconceptions regarding both, and about food insecurity and about the people who experience it?
I think one other that I had seen in my community, Latino community, immigrant community, and in my family is the people using those programs that are designed for the youth and support families. There you are abusing of the system, that you might are not working hard enough, that you're not going to school and doing enough, so you should not rely on that. So I could say for my family, we didn't apply because we were proud Colombians coming here and we can make it happen. And doesn't matter what other things we were leaving behind or how different our path could have been. Other misconception is that if I get a SNAP, I'm taking away a SNAP from someone else. So I don't want to take those resources from anyone else. Also now with polycharts polychart, you guys know what is polychart?
Please explain.
That's very complicated, polychart. But polychart is like, during the Trump administration, he was saying that immigration status is so complicated. I don't want to make something wrong. So polychart is you are an immigrant person is in a polychart is when is waiting for their status to be like settled, so you can get your residence or get that. So there are requirements that you need to meet so you can go through that process. So when the first Trump administration came, he added as those requirements or those things that need to be met for you to get your status, the SNAP one of them. So to say like if you are in a SNAP, you might don't be able to work in your status. So that have a ripple effect. You can like huge ripple effect in the immigrant population, because you are eligible, but you don't want to lose your possibility to get a status here, migratory status. So people didn't apply, knowing that never happened, knowing that even was not possible. But like once again, they just started with that conversation that scared everyone. So polychart and policies that we have different policies that are coming and that are with the language that are scaring people. So the way that policies are being presenting and with the immigrant community is a huge problem now for people don't apply to those programs. What other thing is like dignity, taking food from other one, don't even know if they are eligible or not. So there are no one at home to see if they're eligible, like, oh, maybe I'm not qualified, maybe I didn't know, I don't know if I can do it, but also they are not connecting with those services that can help them to figure out if you are or not. So that's the that we do Project Red in the food source hotline. If you know someone who doesn't know, please tell them, call to the hotline. I will help them navigate that, so you know. But I will say, yeah, I will keep to that.
I think another misconception is that food insecurity mostly affects homeless and unemployed people. And that's not true. It can affect anybody. And, it can be many forms and it can be anywhere. And I think the other one that I think I hear some people saying is a personal failure. You haven't tried hard enough. No, you have, like, let's not judge people. Let's love more and judge less, and just assume if people are actually looking for support is because they need, because it's not fun to go look for support, right? So it is a misconception stigma that we all can help remove it so it doesn't happen anymore. And it's not a problem of being hungry. It affects jobs, it affects your job performance. Actually, I wrote it down because I didn't remember. Anthem Blue Cross showed that poor health often linked to nutrition costs employees in the United States $530 billion annually. So that's why we need to work cross-sector, because it just is not a problem just that stays in one arena. And it can happen with anyone.
One little thing there, the data showed that people on staff, they work and they work hard and they have multiple jobs. So it's like, no, I have a SNAP, so I just stay at home and waiting for my SNAP benefits to come.
Yeah, living
No,
off
it's
of
like,
welfare.
if the percentage is show that they work more than one job. So they're trying to make ends meet. And SNAP is our best option of that to happen.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I know that some specific requirements vary state by state. But as far as I've always known that you have to be working a certain number of hours to be eligible, depending on some other factors. So it's very hard to not be working and also receiving stuff.
Yeah.
Like I have a part-time job, partially because I enjoy it, but partially because I need that to be able to continue receiving SNAP benefits. And it's not an either or, they both must happen.
That's why it's a misconception.
And losing my track here.
I think we have time for Q&A.
Shall we switch to Q&A? All right, be great to see you in the back.
I'm currently writing a research paper about food insecurity in New York City, which is where I'm from, but I'm kind of curious as to, like, when doing the research, I found that there's a large amount of food waste in New York, as well as Massachusetts, less than New York, but there is a very large amount of edible food waste, especially from like restaurants and schools, hospitals, all the big institutions that cannot store that food. Is Project Red kind of working with any of those institutions to upcycle and repurpose food to give either to pantries, like local soup kitchens or anything like that, just because where else would that food be coming?
So when we say earlier that we work with our partners, but we know our lane, this is one of the cases. We have a partner that is very strong in food recovery, blowing spoonfuls. So they're part of our policy agenda, they're part of our network, but they're doing that. And they're very putting all the effort to do exactly what you're saying, like save with all that food that is waste or can be waste and putting in the community organizations that are providing emergency food. And I don't quote me on this, maybe you can go and look it up in your research, but I think it is a bill happening in the State House that it's gonna make recovery more easier, because it's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of rules that need to be happened so you can recover food. But it's a lot of movement in the policy work that make that easier, that we can recover more. Organizations like Loving Spoonful can recover more and can provide more to the community.
Great, we'll start at the front and move back.
I'm gonna apologize for this question in advance, but knowing that we're going through budgeting processes in Congress and knowing that there were major cuts to SNAP that were proposed, how do you work on this issue and advocate for this issue or for this program in general in a nonpartisan way when everything does feel so polarized. I apologize, right? Sorry.
So we support, we are not partisan, so we support initiatives, laws that align with our mission. Doesn't matter who is leading them, the left or the right. If they align with our mission, that is end hunger in Massachusetts, and one of the ways that we see end hunger will be ending, we support. I think in this moment, and I'm gonna again put Sarah on the spot, but I think in this moment we are just in the waiting to see what happens. So our policy team is like creating a scenario that how we can react from all our teams, from the communication, so how we communicate the right way, from the services, like how our hotline can provide the services better. So we are planning all those so we can react in the way that we can. But we have a SNAP coalition. We're part of the SNAP coalition. Is we are there and we can do everything that we, as a team, as a coalition, think that is needed to protect SNAP. Because at this point, what we're gonna need to do is fight to protect SNAP and Harvey. So we don't know what is gonna happen, but we are planning. It's another planning.
Yeah, and I would say, food security it's a bipartisan issue. I mean, it is definitely, it's, if you look across the country, you will see Republican governors who are enacting and passing and signing bills to, create free school breakfast programs, universal free school meal programs. Not a lot, but you are seeing that. And so, we are, and we've seen it here in this state. I mean, among the few state legislators that we have, and it certainly, when we did our Beat Kids campaign, that was certainly the case. It's very much a bipartisan effort, and we are continuing. We are committed to preserving and expanding access to federal nutrition programs. We will continue that work. We will continue to work with what we will just continue to expand our network and our partners in the best way we know how, because and I've been in this work, I've been in this field since 1997, so it's been a while. It's been a hot minute, and I've seen nothing quite like this period of time, but I've certainly remembered moments of angst and a lot of angst, and I've seen moments of great expansion and things that I never thought would happen, and opportunity. So we have your hand, and we will.
I would just add,
And that's why our color is hot.
as a shameless plug for you all to go to Project Red website and go on the policy and just sign up for action alert so you can be actively involved in advocacy and policy. And also we are leading the Massachusetts Make Hunger History Coalition. And also you can sign up for that as an individual. Well, definitely, that's our last plug, but get involved in advocacy and policy. This is the time that we need that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please take a moment to scan the QR code if you have your phones with you.
And that's for you to sign up for the Walk on Hunger that's coming up in May. I want to see everybody there. If you want to join my team, you can have your own.
Please go ahead, Sally.
Hi, so I really enjoy that you're working towards, free lunches and breakfast in schools for kids. But how do you plan to tackle like the summer when school is out and kids face a large disparity between those getting consistent meals and then no meals from school? Is that where SNAP comes in, or are you trying for more policies and planning new things that would help children during the summer?
We have partnership with the Department of Education doing the Summer Eats program. This is exactly to fill the gap when kids are not in school, so they have access to nutritious meal. It's across the state, but it's not like there's room for improvement. Some communities have more sites than others, but it is one of the great ways that kids can have access to nutrition. All kids under 18 years old can participate. Other thing is summer PEBT that have been, present in our state, and we hope it will continue. We can say, yeah, but we're keeping the hope. But yes, you're right. This is a huge issue that we need to address, and hopefully summer eats will continue to expand across the state.
And we have a wonderful team that from now that they already start working in summer, like they did a conference a month ago, something like that. Start bringing communities together, like saying how important it is, showing the data, what it is for that when we need to activate you or your community, you are there to make sure that everyone knows about the summer meal sites. Everyone can talk about, it's a stigma again around that. So how we take the stigma about having our child or the kids just going to those. So there are the two more effective programs during the summer to avoid summer hungering and learning loss in kids during the summer. So, yeah.
Yeah, in Maine, I'm a bit out of touch now since no longer in K through 12.
You're a little over, right?
Not too far, but we used to have summer meal programs, especially at one of the local elementary schools. Just invite everyone in the neighborhood to qualify, and people bring their friends, and just to have meals as often as they could organize them.
Yeah. So yeah, our synaptic nutrition programs is like activating all our partners across the state to make sure that every community to have has sites, and not just have it, people know about them, because we can open it up, but if you don't have a lot of engagement and a lot of communication, they are underutilized, and it's a program that is underutilized that we can do better, and come back again to the partnerships and relationships.
Exactly. I made you wait long enough.
Yeah, hi. You mentioned that Anthem Blue Cross had made a point that nutrition led to a lot of health costs. So have there been instances of cooperating with corporations and kind of leveraging their money hunger against them to use food insecurity as a cost to them to help them tackle it, or is that something that's yet to be realized, or is that something that some nonprofits are working on, or is that, I don't know?
I think that's something twofold. I think yes and yes. Something that corporations still have to realize, it's affecting all of their employees who they might think is something else. It could be food insecurity. And the second part is we do partner with a lot of corporations doing the work for hunger. And I think, the seed is there, but there's room for more awareness. Anything you would add?
No, I think it's I'm gonna give an example. Walmart. The majority of people in Walmart who works in Walmart, they are in the staff. So do they want to fix the system? We don't know. And it's a very deep rooted problems that are politics, lobby, and economics that are really hard to remove. But once again, advocacy and bringing people who are using those services that can advocate for those system changes is our solution. But it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one to do. But yeah, but we can start chipping a little bit here and a little bit here, local.
No, doing the right thing is hard. And I think if you guys can think of one thing from this is also do the right thing, even when it's hard. Doesn't matter. Focus on the process, not just with the outcome, and keep chipping. And one day we're all gonna be out of jobs because the problem will be code.
Please.
Well, on that note, you said earlier, your goal is to be out of jobs and to make Massachusetts food secure, safe. What would it take to get there?
I just look at that.
Big question.
A lot of policy change that really, as we advocate, and our goal is systemic solutions need to be handled. So once again, recognize food insecurity as a integral part of the health and in healthcare system. Integrate in the schools, expand that, like support more the schools to be able to do breakfast after the bell, even if it's low now, many schools that are not doing that. Expand SNAP for immigrant population and eligibility. So if we don't, I don't know the statistics at this point, but Massachusetts is a very diverse and high number of the immigrants, and many of them don't qualify for the SNAP, and there is nothing else for that population. So we can do that. Even there are so immigration status that previous, like long time ago, and I don't know them how they work, but they were receiving the SNAP benefit, and that just they removed that. So if we can even bring that to the table, so a portion of the community that is needed, the immigrant community can have. So it's just changing the big systemic this is the big systems that are in place to work for everyone. I think will be making possible. And as we say in Project Bread, and our CEO always says, like, embed food insecurity in those things that are already part of our everyday life. Health, schools.
And it's cross-sector, not gonna be like, not just one organization is gonna be able to solve the problem. Everybody needs to be hands on that.
Well, I was gonna say, but also, I think we don't know fully. And Catalina last year, with the support of our staff, launched the Council of Experts. And she has formally, together with us, we've formally have launched a council of folks who have lived experience and lived expertise to really start to not just offer their, advice or feedback, but really start to, be part of solution making, solution building, part of the infrastructure of our organization, and ultimately the infrastructure of the solutions, that we're going to be designing and building. And so I think as that group starts to expand and become more integrated into our work and our leadership, those are, solutions that we don't even fully know or, are able to fully embrace yet.
I know, I do that every day, and I completely forgot to mention. Thank you.
And they're the rock stars of our work right now.
So yeah, as I said, like Project Bread really wants to center our work around the people who is facing food insecurity, and they need to be happy. One example is SNAP. SNAP was created long time ago by a group of white people, verified, and maybe never experienced food insecurity. SNAP is there, but could have been better, can be better. If it's informed for everyone who is using a SNAP, this is the way that it should be. So yeah, thank you, Sara, for bringing that. All the decision and all the systemic changes that we are seeking need to be pushed with and creating for the people that is gonna be using them.
Pass the back there, and then Jenna.
First, I want to say thank you for being here and for teaching us so much, and really commend the work that you all do at Project Bread. On that note about the Council of Experts, that's specifically what I'm curious about. It is going to be like a two-part question. So, when we talk about policy, there's a lot of sometimes reluctancy of engaging in policy work, things, and we see based on this conversation that really policies can be levers to enhance food security, right? But the process of policy making, the policy process in and of itself, it's complex. It's a very complicated one. There's a lot of moving pieces to that, right? And one way that I think about policy is, there are policies that we advocate for towards their adoption, and then there's policies that are already in place and we want to implement them and maybe evaluate them, right? I think you touch on both these two aspects, right? And so I'm curious about that Council of Experts, particularly, and thinking about what aspect of policy are you focusing on? Is it the adoption? Is it the implementation? Is it the evaluation? Or is it more, organizationally? Because we know that policies, there's different levels to that. So that's the first part of the question, what exactly is the approach for the Council of Experts? And then the second part of my question is, what are the strategies? Like, can you paint us a picture of what the engagement looked like for either, working towards the adoption of policy, or what are the strategies specifically to think about a specific program and how do we implement them and how do we evaluate them? So those are the two-part questions there. Sorry, it's a very complex, but I'm very curious about the work that you're doing every day.
Wow, and we are friends, and you told me that helpful there.
It's a 5, 6, 10
Yeah.
part question.
So,
I was gonna say, just to respect the time, we're getting very close. A very wonderful question, but if you could maybe have a more condensed.
empower. Empower is our biggest strategy. So people who are facing food insecurity need to be bring into those places that adoption, implementation, evaluation can be done. But we all feel like we don't deserve, and our voices and our experience doesn't have, is not a leverage, and it's the biggest leverage that we have to make things happen. So with the council, one of those big pillars is like empower and provide tools and infrastructure that all those three can happen. Because we do adoption, implementation, and evaluation at Project Bread. So those three areas, those three themes are in Project Bread with open doors to every one of the council members be part of that. And they're already being part. So empower, make sure that they have a room, they have a place to be. Because they do. With just creating these spaces, and that's what we are doing in Project Bread. Whatever way they want, we are working there in the place that we more comfortable. Oh my goodness.
Actually, I'll field the very last question here. And then,
Quick one too, don't worry. So I just really appreciate the way that both of you speak with such positivity and hope. And I'm curious how you might be able to advise young people, especially entering in their professional careers that may be dealing with these really deep systemic issues, on how to remain positive and hopeful while confronting the obstacles of our current world.
You have to Charles, young people,
Yeah.
what do you do with them?
I think wine helps. But I would say reframing. And any big challenge can be reframed into a big opportunity. And sometimes I'm very negative, especially when I'm tired. So also do self-care, know yourself. Know when are the times of the day that you're more probably likely to be negative. And don't make big decisions or big comments in those times. Just like know yourself and know your limits. I'm trying, Catalina knows. So I'm not very good with boundaries, so I usually give out of what I don't have, and then I can be angry or negative when I do that. And there's always hope. We all have been seeing changes. Don't let despair consume you. It's like it's a mind game, and it's paralyzing.
Even I'm gonna do one short, like teach them to see the situations as a learning and with curiosity. And I think if you see every challenge is like, what can I learn and what I can do and for what reason. So that's what can make me work. It's like I'm curious about how can be happening, and I'm curious about, and I really try to bring that to the younger generation.
one of the lines you often hear around if you visit a mosque during Ramadan is "Innamal usri yusra," as indeed after hardship there is ease. And the idea is always you put in the work and things will have their way of working out. So with that, please join me in a round of applause for Catalina Lopez-Ospina, Vice President of Advocacy, and Adriana Mendes-Sheldon, Director of Community Partnership.
And don't forget to sign up for the Work for Hunger.